Shocking infidelity. My ex thought he was smart, so I made sure his Netflix profile screamed cheater, the ultimate revenge. I'm Jessica, 28, female, and my ex cheated, so I renamed his Netflix profile cheater and locked him out. It might sound petty, a small act of digital revenge, but after 4 years of building a life with Ben, of sharing everything from our apartment to our streaming passwords, his betrayal felt like a punch to the gut. And his utter lack of remorse? That's what transformed my heartbreak into a burning desire for him to feel just a fraction of the sting he had inflicted on me. Our story began simply enough. Ben and I met at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was charming, witty, and seemed genuinely interested in my life as a digital marketing specialist. We fell quickly and deeply in love, moving in together after 2 years. Our apartment became our sanctuary, filled with cozy movie nights, shared meals, and the comfortable rhythm of 2 lives intertwined. We talked about the future, about marriage, even about picking out names for hypothetical pets. I trusted him implicitly. He had access to everything: my car, my bank account for shared expenses, and of course, all my digital subscriptions. Netflix was our go-to for winding down after long days. We had our own profiles, tailored to our viewing habits, a small symbol of our shared, yet individual, comforts. Looking back, there were subtle shifts I dismissed, little inconsistencies that, in my trusting nature, I chose to ignore. He started staying out later, with vague excuses about work events or guys' nights. His phone became a permanent fixture in his hand, often face down, and he'd jump whenever a notification came through. I remember one evening, I walked into the living room and he quickly snapped his laptop shut, muttering something about a boring work email. Another time, I found a string of unread messages from a number I didn't recognize on his tablet. He quickly snatched it, claiming it was an old acquaintance he hadn't seen in years. I rationalized it all, telling myself everyone deserved their privacy, that I was being paranoid. My friend Olivia, a nurse who had seen her fair share of relationship dramas, once gently asked if everything was okay, noting Ben's increasing detachment, but I brushed it off. Loyal to the man I believed him to be, the truth didn't arrive with a bang, but with a quiet, insidious creep. It started with subtle changes in Ben's behavior. He became distant, less affectionate, and his eyes often seemed to be somewhere else when we talked about our future. Our shared Netflix history, once a comfortable blend of our tastes, began to feature shows I'd never watched, genres I knew he despised. I chalked it up to his occasional late-night solo viewing, but a flicker of unease began to stir. The first tangible clue came from a place I never expected: my bank statement. I noticed a series of small, recurring charges from a flower shop I didn't recognize, always on a Thursday. It wasn't our anniversary, nor was it my birthday. When I casually asked him about it, he mumbled something about sending flowers to his mom, which seemed plausible enough until I remembered his mother lived in a different city and he always sent her flowers from a local florist near her. The excuse felt flimsy, but I pushed it aside, not wanting to believe what my gut was screaming. The actual unraveling happened on a lazy Saturday morning. Ben had gone out for an early run, leaving his laptop open on the coffee table. A Facebook Messenger notification popped up, its preview showing a string of emojis and a name I didn't recognize. Chloe. My heart hammered in my chest. I fought the urge, I really did, but the sheer volume of his recent evasiveness and the nagging feeling from the flower charges finally won. I clicked on the notification. What unfolded on the screen was a sickening panorama of betrayal. Conversations dating back months, filled with pet names, inside jokes, and explicit plans for dates and overnight stays. Photos of them together, looking cozy and intimate, laughing in places I recognized, places we had been to. My breath caught in my throat. He wasn't just cheating, he was living a whole other life, a secret parallel existence, all while lying to my face. The work events and guys' nights suddenly clicked into place, grotesque pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. It was a digital archive of infidelity, a complete, undeniable shattering of my reality. When Ben returned from his run, sweaty and seemingly cheerful, he walked into a silence so thick it felt like a physical weight. I was sitting on the couch, laptop still open on the coffee table, the incriminating messages stark against the screen. My hands were trembling, but a cold clarity had settled over me. He took one look at the laptop, then at my face, and his easy smile vanished. His eyes darted between me and the screen, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of panic, quickly replaced by something more insidious: defensiveness. "What is this, Jessica?" he demanded, his voice hardening, already moving into attack mode. "It's the truth, Ben," I replied, my voice surprisingly steady, despite the tremor in my hands. "It's Chloe. It's the flower shop. It's all the lies." He tried to snatch the laptop, but I pulled it away. "This isn't what it looks like," he started, the classic cheater's line. But then, to my utter shock, his demeanor shifted. The panic subsided, replaced by an infuriating, almost smug nonchalance. He leaned back, crossing his arms, a slight smirk playing on his lips. "Okay, fine," he said, shrugging. "So you found out. What's the big deal?" "It's not like it meant anything." My jaw dropped. "Not like it meant anything? Ben, we've been together for years. We lived together. We talked about getting married." He rolled his eyes. Yeah, I know. But things get stale, right? A guy needs variety. Besides, you were always so busy with your work. I figured you wouldn't even notice." He even had the audacity to suggest that my dedication to my career was somehow a reason for his infidelity, implying it was my fault. "You're overreacting, Jessica. It's just a few flings. It doesn't change anything about us." That was the breaking point. Not the cheating itself, which was devastating enough, but his dismissive, arrogant, utterly unremorseful attitude. His smug justification, the casual way he minimized my pain and our entire relationship, telling me I was overreacting. It was a profound disrespect that cut deeper than any knife. It wasn't just infidelity. It was a betrayal of my trust, my love, and my very perception of reality. In that moment, the tears dried, replaced by a cold, quiet fury. He thought he could get away with this, with no consequences, with his beloved digital life untouched. He was gravely mistaken. The initial shock and raw pain quickly morphed into a fierce determination. Ben's smugness, his complete lack of remorse, had lit a fire within me that extinguished any lingering desire to salvage the relationship. He believed he was untouchable, that his betrayal would have no real repercussions beyond my personal heartbreak. But he underestimated a digital marketing specialist who knew a thing or two about algorithms, passwords, and how to make a statement in the digital realm. My revenge had to be precise, personal, and undeniably public within his own digital space. It couldn't be destructive or illegal. I wanted him to feel the sting of consequence, not land myself in legal trouble. And the perfect target? His beloved Netflix profile. It was his sanctuary, his escape, his daily comfort. We had shared the account for years, meaning I still had full administrative control. My digital battle plan formed rapidly. I mentally outlined the steps, ensuring I covered all bases and left no room for him to easily undo my work. The rename. This was the core of the plan. His personal profile, the one he spent hours curating, would be rebranded. The name had to be clear, concise, and undeniable, something that would immediately hit him and anyone else who might glance at the profile list with the truth. Cheater. Ben the cheater. Infidelity Island. I ran through a few options, settling on the most direct and universally understood: the lockout. Renaming wasn't enough. He'd just change it back. I needed to cut off his access completely. This meant changing the main account password, effectively locking him out of the entire Netflix service that he used daily. This was the true power play, hitting him where it hurt: his entertainment and his sense of control. The timing, the execution had to be perfect. I wanted him to discover it when he was least expecting it, when he was most vulnerable, perhaps after a long day when he just wanted to unwind with his shows. A weekday evening seemed ideal. The farewell, while not strictly part of the Netflix plan, I decided I would change all the shared account passwords, utilities, Wi-Fi, other streaming services, anything linked to my email or shared financial details. This wasn't about revenge, but about disentangling my life from his, severing the digital umbilical cord that still bound us. I spent the next few days in a haze of cold calculation, fueled by residual anger. I gathered all the account details, changed my personal passwords, and mentally rehearsed the Netflix operation. My friend Olivia, who I confided in about the cheating, though not my Netflix plan initially, just listened with a sympathetic ear, echoing my shock at his callousness. He really just shrugged it off. She'd asked, wide-eyed. Her disbelief only reaffirmed that my anger was justified. This wasn't just about me. It was about holding someone accountable for their terrible actions. Ben thought he was so clever, so smooth. It was time for him to realize he wasn't. The day came. It was a Tuesday evening, a typical night when Ben would settle down after work, usually around p.m., to unwind with his latest binge watch. I had spent the day at my own office, maintaining a calm facade, but my mind was a whirlwind of anticipation. The anger that had fueled my plan had settled into a quiet, determined resolve. I arrived home slightly before him. The apartment, usually a shared space, felt charged with the unspoken tension of our broken relationship. I went to my laptop, opened a private browser window, and navigated to Netflix. My fingers, usually so quick and precise on the keyboard, felt a slight tremor. First, I logged into the main account, the one registered under my email. I went to the profile management section. There it was, Ben's profile. My stomach fluttered, a mix of apprehension and grim satisfaction. I clicked edit, then slowly, deliberately, changed the name. I considered a few options, but ultimately, the simplest was the most potent. I typed, cheater. I confirmed the change, watching as the new damning label appeared on the screen. It was small, but it felt monumental. Next, the crucial step, locking him out. I navigated to the account settings and found the password change option. I entered a new complex password, a string of random characters that he would never guess. I made sure to uncheck the require all devices to sign in again box, ensuring only his active session would be immediately invalidated, while my own and any other legitimate profiles remained logged in, though I would change those later too. This was about his immediate disruption. I typed it twice, confirmed, and watched a success message flash across the screen, a quiet, almost imperceptible click. My mission was complete. I closed the laptop, logged out of all accounts on the smart TV, and then waited. I moved to the living room, picking up a book, trying to appear nonchalant. But my ears were straining for the sound of his keys in the lock. It wasn't long before I heard him. The familiar jingle of keys, the door opening, his usual, "Hey, I'm home," I offered. A non-committal grunt in reply, keeping my eyes on my book. He dropped his bag, went to the fridge, grabbed a drink, and then, as I knew he would, headed straight for the TV. I heard the remote click, the familiar Netflix splash screen. Then, a moment of silence. Then, a sharp, frustrated grunt. What? I heard a series of rapid clicks, then another, louder grunt. Seriously? What's going on? My heart pounded, but I kept my face impassive. Something wrong? I asked, looking up from my book, feigning innocent curiosity. Yeah, my profile. It's gone. And, wait. What is this? Cheater. What the heck, Jessica? His voice rose in a mix of confusion and indignation. He tried to log in. I could hear the furious clicking of the remote, then a frustrated groan. It says wrong password. Jessica, did you do this? I met his gaze, my own eyes cool and unwavering. Well, Ben, I said, a slow, deliberate smile spreading across my face. Considering I'm the account holder and you're the cheater. Yes, I did. The look on his face was priceless. Confusion, then dawning realization, then pure, unadulterated fury. My digital payback had landed perfectly. Ben stood there, mouth agape, his face a mixture of shock and outrage. You changed my profile name to that? And you locked me out? His voice was a strangled mix of disbelief and sputtering anger. It seemed fitting, I replied, closing my book with a soft thud. You see, Ben, when you cheat on someone, especially when you do it so casually and then lie about it, there are consequences. And since you didn't seem to think my feelings were a big deal, I figured I'd hit you where it might actually sting a little. Your entertainment, your convenience, your public image, even to your streaming service. He tried to argue, to deny, to threaten. You can't do that. That's my profile. I pay for that too. Actually, I countered calmly. It's my account registered under my email, and I've been paying the full bill for the last 6 months because you conveniently forgot your share. So, yes, I can. And I did. His bluster quickly deflated, replaced by a sullen fury. He stomped into his room, slamming the door. I heard him frantically trying to log in on his phone, then another frustrated shout. The silence that followed was glorious. He couldn't blame some glitch, some misunderstanding. The message was clear, undeniable, and aimed squarely at his ego. Over the next few days, the apartment was a tomb of tension. Ben would try to avoid me, But the presence of the cheater profile, which I made sure to leave visible on the login screen for maximum effect, was a constant, silent accusation. He eventually tried to create a new profile, but of course, he couldn't. He was locked out of the entire account. He tried a few times to get me to give him the new password. First, with faint casualness, "Hey, about that Netflix thing. Can you just send me the new password? I need to watch his favorite show." Then, with increasing desperation, "Jessica, seriously, this is ridiculous. Give me the password. It's just Netflix." His anger escalated to shouting, but I simply replied, "The password is cheater got with others." "Oh wait, that's too long. How about you should theft?" My calm, unyielding response infuriated him further, but he quickly realized I wasn't going to budge. He even called Olivia, complaining about me. She just told him, "Well, Ben, maybe you shouldn't have cheated then." He got nowhere. The constant reminder of his actions, not just in my presence but on the very screen he loved, was clearly wearing him down. He stopped asking for the password. The silence in the apartment became less about tension and more about his defeat. He started spending even more time outside the apartment, likely at Chloe's place, or wherever he could find a screen to escape into. The digital label I had given him was, for him, a public shaming within his most intimate space. The true resolution came not in a grand confrontation, but in the quiet, undeniable shift in our lives. A week after the Netflix incident, Ben packed a bag and left. He didn't say goodbye, just vanished, taking with him his silence and his favorite gaming console. I later heard through Olivia that he was staying with Chloe, and that he was fuming about being cut off from his streaming services. The fact that his biggest complaint was about Netflix, rather than the shattered relationship, spoke volumes about his priorities. For me, his departure was like a heavy weight being lifted. The apartment, once a space of shared joy and then unbearable tension, finally felt like home again. The quiet was no longer foreboding but peaceful. I changed the Netflix profile name back to my own, reclaimed my account, and slowly began to redecorate, erasing the last vestiges of our shared life. The Netflix revenge, while seemingly small, had been incredibly significant for me. It wasn't about inflicting physical pain or financial ruin. It was about reclaiming control, about delivering a perfectly tailored consequence that hit him where he genuinely cared: his convenience, his entertainment, and his carefully constructed image. It was a clear, undeniable marker of his betrayal, something he had to confront every time he tried to log in. It validated my pain and allowed me to channel my anger into a precise, empowering act. I focused on my career, thriving in my digital marketing role. I reconnected with friends I'd unintentionally distanced myself from during the relationship, and slowly, cautiously, I started dating again, this time with a clearer understanding of what I deserved. The sting of betrayal faded, replaced by a quiet strength and confidence. Ben's actions had hurt me deeply, but my response, a small act of digital defiance, had given me the power to move forward. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't loud or destructive. It's smart, precise, and leaves an undeniable mark on the very thing your betrayer holds dear. After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories. We are all human. If you enjoyed the story, feel free to share it. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon.